The Emperor of Mankind as of the current setting is a living corpse installed on a device called the Golden Throne, where he powers the Astronomican and endlessly prevents demons from breaching into Terra. He is the most powerful human to ever exist, the most powerful Alpha plus Psyker, and a perpetual that united the galaxy after the Age of Strife. But before his present condition as a body atop a life support system that guides the Imperium, he was a beast. He was a monster in battle. So here in this video we will showcase the 10 times the Emperor fought or showed his powers to subdue both his enemies and even his sons. Let's get to it. The very first time the Emperor showed his powers and killed someone was in the ancient past in his young boyhood days. From the book of Master of Mankind, the Emperor, or as he is known as the boy who would be king, reacts to the death of his father who was murdered by his uncle. He held his father's skull, tracing his contours with dirt-stained fingers. His thumb circled the jagged hole in the bone, and with a touch he saw the truth, the bronze knife, the betrayal, and his father's fall into the mud. Rising, the boy carried the skull through the village to meet his uncle. With a thought, he stopped the heart of the man that killed his father. The boy who would be king then watched with neither remorse nor any particular hostility or even emotion as his uncle died and slid into the ground with the unfinished necklace slipping away from his grasp. And that was the first time he ever took a life. Then the next time we hear about the Emperor fighting is during a battle that occurred in an undisclosed date in the ancient past of Terra. So firstly, we have to know what enuncia means. This word will come again in the end of the video. Enuncia is an ancient and forbidden language not meant for communication but as a tool or a weapon, capable of warping the very fabric of reality itself. Unlike psychic powers, enuncia doesn't require innate psychic abilities, making it a terrifying force that theoretically anyone could wield. In Mortis, a flashback reveals that the Emperor was confronting a deadly power of the Enuncia, wielded by the Cognite, a shadowy cabal who attempted to construct a chaos channeling tower inscribed with enuncia. Their plan was thwarted by the Emperor, who led his armies, commanded by the legendary Orlandis person, to strike against the dark ritual. Though the Emperor was not yet at his full strength, he stood alone against these mystics, each armed with the might of the enuncia, slaughtering them and barely taking a hit. Then we have the Emperor versus the Void Dragon. So it is heavily hinted that the Dragon of Mars is the largest piece of one of the most powerful Catan. A shot of it, the Void Dragon that was formed when the dragon was split in half by an Elder God's blast, or was it a black stone fortress? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, the only thing we know for sure is that there is a shot of the Void Dragon on Mars, and the Emperor most likely had something to do with why it is there. It is presumed that due to his feat, the Emperor defeating the Void Dragon, he was regarded by the Mechanicum later on as the Omnissiah. But how he defeated an actual Catan shard is up to anyone's guess, but I'm pretty sure he would have struggled a lot even with his massive psychic powers. Then we also have the Emperor versus Faragwetla. So Faragwetla is a demon prince, an ancient one. He had existed since the dawn of time, watching galaxies rise and fall while casually destroying star systems for its own amusement. For millennia, it also toyed with human pawns, unleashing chaos and destruction across Terra. But its reign of terror ended with the arrival of the God Emperor during the time of the Unification Wars. Using his first armies of genetically engineered super warriors, probably the Custodes and also the Thunder Warriors, the Emperor drove the demon prince off of humanity's homeworld and eventually cornering the demon on a distant world later named as Caracephalon. Here, with the help of a living weapon known as the Angel, the Emperor managed to imprison the creature in the planet's very bedrock. Wielding a massive flaming sword and leaving trails of blue fire in its wake, the Angel was a force of pure devastation, capable of annihilating entire armies and cities in moments. Together, the Emperor and his Angel forged the prison that would entrap Faragwetla, ending the demon's rampage until 15,000 years later. So at number 5 we have Emperor versus Leman Russ. This one isn't actually a battle but a contest between the Emperor and his son Leman Russ when he was rediscovered in Fenris. After years of searching, in 819 of M30, tales of King Leman Russ reached the Emperor's ears. Recognizing the unmistakable might of a Primarch at work, the Emperor journeyed to Fenris to meet the Wolf King. But Russ, proud and stubborn as ever, refused to acknowledge him as the master of mankind. Rus issued challenges instead. First, he boasted that he could out-eat the Emperor and promptly devoured 3 entire oxen, forcing the Emperor to concede that particular round. Next, Rus declared that he could outdrink him and proceeded to drain the royal cellars dry, sealing another victory. Finally, Rus claimed that he could best the Emperor in combat. Well, that challenge didn't quite go as planned. The Emperor just raised his power glove and struck Rus with a blow so mighty that it would have shattered an ordinary human. Rus, getting up dazed but alive, had to admit that he had never knew such strength before. Humbled and impressed, Leman Russ swore loyalty, pledging to serve the Emperor faithfully from that day forward. Then we also have the Emperor versus Vulcan. This is another occasion where the Emperor rediscovered another one of his sons. In 832 of M30, following Vulcan's victory over the Dark Eldar, a grand tournament was held on Nocturne to celebrate. During the opening ceremonies, a pale-skinned stranger appeared, dressed in unfamiliar materials, and challenged Vulcan. So for 8 days, Vulcan and the stranger competed in contests of strength and skill that astonished the people of Nocturne. Many events like the annual lifting competition lasted half a day or a day and a half, and ending in ties, as neither man showed signs of weakness and fatigue. To settle the draw, the elders proposed a salamander slaying trial. Vulcan slew his fire salamander with a single blow, but as he carried it back, a volcano erupted. The stranger, having hunted a larger salamander, used its carcass to save Vulcan from falling into the magma, sacrificing his prize in the process. Though Vulcan was declared the winner, he knelt before the stranger, and then the stranger revealed himself as the Emperor of Mankind, Vulcan's own father. Then we also have the Emperor killing the High Overlord of Barbarous. So in the year 854 of M30, the Emperor discovered Mortarion in the death world of Barbarous. The Primarch was on a quest back then to rid the world of the overlords that enslaved it. The Emperor appeared there as a stranger again and issued a challenge to Mortarion to defeat the High Overlord. So clad in his best suit of armor, Mortarion went on forth to face Nekara, the Overlord, his also adopted father. But he was subdued by the environment there. The air was so thick with poison that it began to eat away Mortarion's armor. Weakened by the toxic fumes, Mortarion collapsed at the gates, roaring defiance and issuing a final insult to Nekara. As his strength faded and as he was blacking out, he saw the Overlord Nekara stepping forward, mocking and preparing to strike the killing blow. In that moment, just as the Overlord moved to end his foster son's life, the stranger appeared, and with a single precise thrust of a flaming sword, he cut Nekara down with ease, saving his son and killing the Overlord with relative ease, in a move that showed how far above the Primarchs he was in power. Then we have the Emperor versus Garkle Blackfang. So at the end of M30, during the final days of the Great Crusade, the Emperor finally again showed why he is at the top of the pyramid, why he is the top G, by defeating one of the most powerful Orc war bosses to ever exist. Garkle Blackfang was no ordinary Orc. Towering and black skin, he was as cunning as he was brutal, a warlord whose power was unmatched amongst the greenskins of his era. His forest world, Garrus Travian, became the site of one of the Great Crusade's most legendary battles. 3 full Space Marine legions, the Lunar Wolves, the Death Guard, and the Imperial Fist were deployed to crush the Orc menace. Yet, even with such overwhelming strength, the Imperium found itself teetering on the brink of defeat. It was in the darkest moments that the Emperor himself intervened. Descending from his flagship, the Bucephalus, he led a strike force of 1,000 Legio Custodes directly into the heart of the Greenskin army. Where his Primarch sons had failed, the Emperor unleashed his full might, with an aura that seemed to still the battlefield and a power that was beyond mortal comprehension. He cut through the Orc ranks like a force of nature. The climactic moment came when the Emperor confronted Blackfang atop the towering Gargan. While the Orc warlord roared in defiance, it was no contest. The Emperor, a living god of war, struck him down with a precision and power that ended the Greenskin's threat, which by the way was just a single stroke. Then we also have the Emperor versus Drachnian. During the war on the Webway, which was side by side with the Siege of Terra, demons assailed the Imperium's forces and were even killing Custodes by the thousands. Then the Emperor himself entered the Webway war. It was like a god walking amongst mortals in the battlefield. His very presence set many demons ablaze, forcing countless others to flee in terror. Those few who dared to stand against him were effortlessly destroyed, cut down with the ease of swatting away flies. But then came something far more formidable, a demon of chaos undivided, Drachnian. This wasn't just another demon, it was the living echo of the first murder, a force tied to the very concept of slaughter and the collapse of civilizations. The Emperor sensed its approach, recognizing its dark essence immediately. Shortly after the arrival of Drachnian, the tide of the battlefield shifted. The Imperial defenders were overwhelmed, forcing a retreat to the safety of the Imperial Palace. The demon appeared as a towering Stone Age war chief embodying a primitive and violent era of humanity's past and challenged the Emperor. Then the confrontation then occurred. In the clash, the two combatants shifted in and out of existence. They were a blur to everyone. Drachnian then impaled the Emperor, declaring that it had brought him his own death. But the Emperor said that it might happen, but at another time. And with unimaginable strength and defiance, ripped the demon, now transformed into a cursed sword, out of his own chest, his own body. Wriggling and then starving for murder, Drachnian was taken out while drawing human blood from the Emperor himself. The Emperor then hurled the weapon straight at Ra Endymion, one of his custodians. The blade pierced Ra, biting the demon within him, and with one word the Emperor gave Ra a command, which was, and number 10, the last battle. So the final battle between the Emperor of Mankind and Horus Lupercal is one of the most iconic and tragic moments in 40k history. It takes place aboard the Vengeful Spirit, during the Siege of Terror at the end of the Horus Heresy. This confrontation is the culmination of decades of betrayal, war, and the fall of the Emperor's most beloved son to chaos. The Emperor teleported aboard the Vengeful Spirit alongside a strike team of custodians and Astartes, determined to end the war by confronting Horus directly. The boarding party was, however, scattered upon arrival, leaving the Emperor to face Horus alone in the bridge chamber after the latter had killed Sanguinius. Horus had fully embraced his corruption by then. His body became twisted, a horrifying amalgamation of godlike powers and chaos-fueled transformations. The War Master's armor pulsed with unholy energy, his very presence warping reality around him, becoming a pseudo-god himself in power. The Emperor at first hesitated, still seeing the shadow of his son he had once cherished. Horus, however, showed no restraint. He unleashed his fury, attacking with savage strength that even the Emperor struggled to counter. The battle was not just a clash of physical might, but a contest of wills and psychic dominance that echoed through the Imperium itself. Horus fought with the strength of all the 4 Chaos Gods empowering him. The War Master's attacks shattered the Emperor's defenses, breaking bones and tearing flesh. At the height of the battle, Horus stripped away the Emperor's psychic protections and inflicted devastating injuries. The Emperor fell, grievously wounded and on the brink of death. It seems as though Horus would triumph, and with him, chaos would reign supreme. However, 2 Perpetuals, Olanius Person and John Grammaticus, managed to temporarily stun Horus with an Annuncia, allowing the Emperor to get a breather and finally obliterate Horus, with first a move that tricked Horus into releasing his powers first and then shooting a massive power blast that deletes his own son from existence, obliterating him completely, winning the battle but also losing his body to the fight, and now entombed in the Golden Throne. So those are the 10 fights the Emperor had in 40k, as of our information. Anyway, if you like this video, then watch this other one too, and if you want to browse for other sci-fi and Warhammer content, then check out our channel. So subscribe and like for support, and yeah, while you're at it, bang on that bell icon for notifications on new video uploads. Till the next time, take care, boys.